Okay, so let me bring my reference image. This is the reference image that I'm going to create something like this, even though it's not going to be exactly like this one, but we're trying to get an idea from this photo. So let me minimize this one. And I have created the vase exactly the same as what we did before, which means that I have a line which is the profile of our object. Then I have the lathe modifier on top, and I have a shell modifier on top of that. So this is the final result. What I have done also is I have created 3 splines on top of my surface. So we're going to scatter this object along those splines. So let me isolate this one for a second and disable all the modifiers on top. So basically this is a spline which I use to create a flower from that, and I have an editable poly on top which gives this one a surface, and also I brought down the in between edges. What I have done also is to connect those vertices, so I have 4-sided polygons everywhere. Then on top of that we have a shell modifier, and that shell modifier also has the segments of 2, so by default that's going to be 1. So I have set that one to be 2, so we have an edge loop in the middle. Then I have another editable poly on top just to select those edge loops, and then I have a push modifier. In fact, instead of that editable poly, I could use a poly select node, and we have a push modifier on top with a very low value, and on top of that I have another editable poly, which what I did is just to duplicate those around. And lastly we have a mesh smooth, so just to smooth those elements. So I'm gonna get out of the isolation mode. Now with this one selected, I'm gonna go under animation and constraints. There's a path constraint. Then I'm gonna, while I have this rubber band, I'm gonna click on this spline. Great. Now on the motion panel, under the position, you can see that I have my path constraint here. So what I'm gonna do is to click on follow, and also on the axis I'm gonna flip the x-axis so it's the right way. And let me change this one to local mode so I can see the pivot of the object. Okay, so now let's go up. I'm gonna select my position X, Y, Z and set this one to be active. With that one active, I'm gonna bring this one out. By going to affect pivot mode and just bringing back the pivot. Okay, so this should be fine. Let me get out of the affect pivot, and you can see that this one is traveling ahead along the path. Alright, so that should be fine. Now I'm going to go to graph editor and open the curve editor and click and drag this one to dock this one here. So what I'm going to, let me first hide this panel which I do not want. Go to rotation, and I want this one to be rotated along the x-axis randomly, so I select my add key tool and make this move to be only a vertical move, and I'm gonna select here with this one on just to lock the rotation in place, and also I wanna lock the last frame in place. You can hold down Ctrl Alt and middle mouse click and drag to scale this one in vertical or horizontal axis. Okay, so I'm gonna click and drag a couple of times randomly. Okay, this should be fine. Then I'm gonna go under views and show ghosting, so I can see the ghost of the object or the animated object along the path. You could right click here, or in fact, I'm sorry, you could go to customize and preferences. Then here you can go under the viewports. Here's the options for the ghosting. I have set that one to be 100 and display every 10 frame. So I guess basically that's it, and ghost before and after the selected or animated object. So if I scrub through the timeline, you can see that this one is rotating around based on those keyframes that I have set before. So you can add any other keyframe that you want or change any of these. The reason that I selected this one instead of this one is because I do not want to add any keyframe while I'm moving it in time. So I'm not gonna change the speed of the animation. I'm just gonna change the value. So I'm gonna go back to this one. And also I'm trying to have those values between -360 to 360, although it's not really important, but that's how the rotation works. So I guess this should be fine. We have enough randomization. Now I'm going to go to a scale, and we're going also to change this one. So let me select my add key again and add a point here, one at the end. And also I'm going to add a couple of points in between. I'm going to hold Control, Alt down and middle mouse click so I can see other values here. I guess this is fine. Okay, so I'm going to add a couple of times and bring it up and down so we can see the result. I'm not really going to increase the scale that much, so let's bring them down. Also, there are other ways to randomize the keyframes, or you could add some expressions, you could add some of the tools that are available in Curve Editor. But again, this one is the easiest way to do so. So I guess we're fine. Alright, yeah, that should be fine. And when you're finished doing everything, the last thing that you want to do is to go under Tools and Snapshot. Again, a snapshot only once. I mean, that's going to create an object, or based on the method that I define here. Or I'm gonna go range, which is from 0 to 100, and number of copies, probably 12 should be fine. Or let's go 15. And I could go instance, I could go reference. Let's go instance for right now. Okay, so they are created here, which is great. Next, what I want to do is to click on Path Constraint, and with this one selected, I'm going to set active. So now I have this line. I can delete this path or add another one. So with this one added, I'm gonna increase the weight of this one to be 100. enter, and I'm gonna disable the weight of this one to 0. So this one is completely along that path, and the good thing is that we have all of the keyframes here. So again, with this object selected, I'm going to go under Tools and Snapshot, and again let's go this time for 19. Great. Now I'm gonna add this one as well and set the weight of this one to be 100 and remove this one. So again, with that object selected, I'm gonna go to Tools, and in fact you can randomize these if you want, so you do not have the exact amount of rotation, even though that's not really visible here. So let's go under Tools and Snapshot again. This time I'm gonna go for probably 8. Yeah, this should be fine. Now I'm gonna get out of the Add Path mode. Now if you do not want, let me first disable the ghosting. If you do not want this object anymore, you could delete it. Or if you wanted this one in place, you could only delete the path constraint on top. But I'm gonna delete the whole object since I don't really need that one. Okay, so everything should be fine. In the next tutorial, we'll continue modeling the rest of the objects.